Hey everyone, beautiful guys, how's it going today? I wanted to share something really different, kind of really random that came in, but I was guided and shown that at least one, maybe more people out there are actually having this difficult time going through this at the moment in their relationship. And I never talk about really relationships much or my past relationships or when I was married or whatever, but I was guided to share something that I felt was really important, or Spirit showed me was really important around relationships. And it could be someone out there that is on the verge of like, will I leave? Won't I leave? What's happening? Because there's a lot of talk about, right, people just leaving toxic relationships. They've got to be toxic to leave, or you've got to be abusive to leave. But what about the ones that don't have that, but you still know that you're not meant to stay? You still know that they're not meant for you. There might not, there's relationships out there where you still might love the person, but you're not in love with them, and you just know that you're both growing and it just isn't a fit anymore. And this is what I want to talk about today, because there's so much narrative driven to the whole, narcissistic person and they're toxic and in any conditioned relationship, there is going to be a level of control, taking each other's energy, manipulation, because that's how we've been designed to function in relationships, unless you're in a conscious relationship, right? So I wanted to share today that about myself when I was married. And so I was married to a soulmate, and a lot of people think that when you're into soulmate, it's forever. It's forever and always, and it's butterflies and unicorns. And I'm here to say that it's not always like that. So yes, we were really happy. We were very much in love. We had a beautiful daughter. We had a beautiful marriage until we didn't. And nothing specifically. It was not toxic. It was not abusive. There were some levels of verbal abuse, yes, that masculine seemed to, that old masculine template seemed to don't feel is abusive, but they do. But there was other reasons that the marriage wasn't working, and it was really hard to leave. It was one of the most hardest, heartbreaking, excruciating things to do, to leave, because we had a child together, and she was only young. She was 8, and he would never have done it. He would have just ran the old cycles and patterns at the time. And this is the most bizarre thing. I was not awake in any way, shape or form. I was unconscious to everything. Was completely blocked. I had not had a massive awakening, like people say they have a massive awakening or a Kundalini awakening and they've gone onto their path and left their partner. I never had any of that. I wasn't even thinking. I was so blocked and living in the matrix and just doing the mum thing, the wife thing, working, paying bills, paying a mortgage, solidly in that matrix situation, that I wasn't like I was when I was a child and a teenager in my early 20s, when I talked about in my book how conscious I was and everything. I'd completely gone into the matrix, and I wasn't even feeling energy, talking energy. I wasn't even thinking about energy. I was completely unaware and unawake and unconscious to it all. But there was a part of me that was just dying inside. And so how my heart and soul, my higher self, I guess you could say, was trying to get my attention, was that I was feeling very contracted, very unhappy, very I actually use the term like I was dying inside. I felt like I was suffocating, not expanding or feeling free or in any peace I felt like I was suffocating. And to even say that was hard, because I love, even still to this day, I love my, as a friend, I love my ex-husband. We've always had a good relationship since. We care about each other. even people used to say to me through my daughter's school days, you know, other people that were divorcing and friends around us were like, oh my God, how do you two do this? Like, we have no court papers for custody. We had nothing. It was just so, and I said, well, we both said we did it with a lot of maturity. And even though it was heartbreaking to end that cycle together, we remained mature about it and wished each other the best, and we were always there for each other. And so it worked, you know, and there's times where it didn't work as well, but at the time it was, and this is why I want to share this, because there could be someone out there that's in a similar situation where they don't hate their partner, or they don't want to, you know, bring some bad stuff to their partner or whatever, but they just know that it's not for them anymore. So, and what happened is, obviously I was about to go on my spiritual path. I was about to take that journey. Did I know that at the time? Absolutely not. I never had a clue. All I knew is that I could not keep going feeling so contracted. It's like I was dying inside. I wasn't lighting up. There was no part of me at all. There was parts that I still enjoyed, but there was, and I know what it is now. At the time, you kind of think, what? And it's because I outgrew a conditional relationship. And I didn't know at the time, but I was being prepared for this conscious relationship and journey. I had not met my divine masculine and partner at that time. I did not meet him till 5 years after I separated from my husband. So I went on this journey then on my own. I still never really fully awakened, but I started looking into energy. I started operating more of my life from energy, you know, all sorts of things like that. But I never had a mass Kundalini awakening till he came into my life. But I just knew that what I did is I didn't know what was happening, but I just knew I had to leave that situation for new doors to open for the next. So I wanted to share this because a lot of people just think, oh, well, I'll stay in it because, hey, I'm lucky because, you know, it's not abusive and we're doing okay and da-da-da-da. But this is the time especially, and it wasn't back then, it was, the energy back then was still very dense. And if I can do it, if I can be still totally unawake back then, but know that I had to leave despite having a child, that I was breaking up a family, and that, you know, almost gave me nightmares because, you know, it's nothing to laugh about, but you do worry about that as a parent. But then you realize that if you're not happy as a parent, you can't be a happy mother. Do you know what I mean? So comes to a point where you do have to put yourself first. There was times that I wanted to stay and did stay because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want to upset him. I didn't want to break his heart. I didn't want to break my daughter's heart, but also while I was breaking my heart. And it's just something that there was no rhyme or reason why it was happening. It was just felt to me, and I didn't even know really to call it this, but it just felt like a contract had ended. It was time that was up. And it was really kind of sad because even people around us were shocked when we separated because they just thought we were one of the couples that would stay together, you know, forever sort of thing. But it's, for me, I just knew that I couldn't live like that anymore. I needed to take some type of journey that wasn't at that time, like at that time, it wasn't where I was. So it just felt like the contract had ended and I couldn't do it anymore. And I even went back, I left and then I went back and stayed a year and left again. And I think that's why I got to the point of feeling really like I was so closed off inside and unhappy and like I was dying inside, because I probably went back when I shouldn't have. But I went back because, why did I go back? for him and for my child. And so it turned out great. Like, I think it's so hard when we can't see the future. And when I say it turned out great, as in it was a long, hard, few years of heartbreak and, because there's times where as a single mother, you might be struggling financially, struggling as a single parent. There's so much to do. Like, there's lots of things, and times will come up and for me, I'd go, oh God, did I do the right thing? Because look what I'm doing. Who wants this life? But at the same time, I always felt a sense of like, well, I can lead this where I want to lead this, So you might be in a situation with somebody where it's not toxic and it's not abusive, and you might think, oh, well, I may as well just be lucky and stay. But if it feels like it's not right for you, if it feels just mediocre, if it feels like it's okay or whatever, I'll stay, that's not a reason to stay. And if it doesn't light you up every day, it's not a reason to stay. And I'm not saying relationships are about, butterflies and unions. There you go, unions. Butterflies and rainbows. But having a conscious relationship and unconditional as opposed to conditional is a very different way to live. And once you've experienced that, in a sense, you can't go back. You can't go back because you just know that it just feels so different. So take the leap of faith. I don't want to be the one on here that's, encouraging people to leave their partner, but if any part of this resonates with you, if you get anything from this and you feel that's how if you think that's how I feel, when I say it turned out great, I mean that as in, if you ask my daughter now, she's a grown adult, and if you asked her even as a young child, teenager, would you have rathered your parents stay together until you're older, she'll tell you no, because she didn't like the arguing, she didn't like the tension, she didn't like mum feeling the energy, that knowing that mum wasn't really happy being there. And don't for 1 minute think that your children cannot feel your energy of the situation, or your partner's energy, their parents. They feel their parents' energy better than you probably feel it yourself, and better than you probably would even understand. Children feel energy differently than adults. They're more open. They can sense very quickly when something's not right, and then they start to worry. They start to get on tenterhooks about, what's happening. Oh, is there going to be another argument? Oh, who's going to say what to who? So a lot of people say, oh, I'll just stay for the kids. And the kids are secretly going, no, please, don't stay for us. Even when they're young, they don't know how to say that, but they'd rather that not be the case. When a parent is in alignment with their path or their soul, the child is very content and is too, because they are connected to the parent. And that deeper connection with the child, the bond between the child and the parent, they can feel and sense if you're just in a relationship out of fear, out of security for money, out of security for I don't want to be alone, out of security of like I don't want to be a single parent and raise children. There can be a bunch of reasons why people stay in relationships that are not serving them, whether they're soulmates or karmic relationships, and they're saying, oh yeah, but look at the fun times we have. Oh, let's all dress up as a family and go off and do this. That's just all masks, mask wearing all the time. And I know, because I lived it and I did it too. We had a lot of incredible happy times where it wasn't like that. But the last couple of years, it was like that. And it was just doing it because you were in it, so to speak. So I just want to share this message, because obviously it's the time to share it, because I never even thought about doing it until tonight. But you need to choose yourself first and do it from a forgiving, compassionate, loving way for yourself and for them, even if you sit down and explain to somebody this from a more conscious way, and if you're listening to this video, you're already well on your spiritual path, I'm sure, otherwise you wouldn't be following me. And you know what I'm talking about in how a conscious relationship works. And so even if that person is going to be heartbroken, because they might still not be consciously aware of it yet. So if they were, they'd realize the same as you. It's not working. There's something better for me out there. There's another person that's right for me out there, okay? And I'm with this person that isn't. But because they still might be stuck in limiting beliefs, insecurity, fears, you're filling their voids, you're filling their cup, you know, they don't want you to leave. So they're going to try everything and anything to get you to stay, whether it's any type of manipulation. I just wanted to say blackmail. I don't know why I said that. Obviously someone's going through that. Like just anything, jealousy, nastiness, manipulation, you know, control, sucking your energy, whatever it is. That person might try all these things because they might not have a higher awareness and understanding of why it's happening and why it's occurring. You know, I was pretty lucky in the sense that although my husband at the time didn't want to break up and it was me that left, he kind of respected, even though he was heartbroken, when I said and I explained I felt like I was dying inside and I wasn't happy anymore because I just didn't feel like this was working for us. So, and he wasn't spiritually awakened either. So you might find that your partner's more understanding than you think, or you might find that they're going to be a raving lunatic and just go and not handle it at all. But either way, you can't live in that fear of what they're going to do or how they're going to feel. This is the energy and time for you to step forward and do it for you. And not be controlled by even an external party of like a family or friend that's going, oh, don't be stupid, don't leave, you know, you've got it good, da-da-da-da-da, because how many people stick their nose in and say that? But they're not in your relationship, so they can't see. And it might look good, because if it's not toxic or abusive in those deeper ways, you know, there's always going to be a certain level, as I said, of manipulation. If it's a conditional relationship, there is always going to be some type of manipulation, energy control, back and forth, like whatever, okay, because you're both working from wounding. So, and there's not an awareness there of that. So family and friends won't know, they won't have that awareness. They'll be just looking at it going, hey, you know, you think the grass is greener on the other side? It may not be, it probably isn't, stay where you are. And that's what's kept the old patterns go of relationships and those old karmic patterns and cycles and circles and people sticking their nose in. So if that is you, just please, you know, tell them to mind their own business and tell them that didn't happen to me, but I've heard that happen to others. So just say, look, I have to make this decision. You don't know my relationship. I'm the one that's in it. And it could be the fact that, you know, you have met your divine partner. I hadn't met mine, as I said, by that stage, but you might have already met yours and you might know that, okay, this isn't my path anymore. This contract's finished, whether it's a karmic contract or whether it's a soulmate one like I had. And some people think because they're in soulmate relationships, they have to stay in them because, oh, soulmates meant to be together. There's different types of soulmates as well. And there's different types of connections. And it's not about, there's no label or there's no right or wrong about being in a connect or staying in a connection if you don't feel it's right. You'll know what feels right for you. And so, so that being said, I'll probably wrap up now. It's about 19 minutes. And I just hope this helps somebody. As I said, I'd never shared my story before, and I fully still respect my ex-husband, so I don't want to go into any details. He's a beautiful person. He's a very loving man. He's a very balanced man in his masculine and feminine. He has a beautiful heart, and he's not blocked off in his heart. So, you know, But there are other things that, you know, I think we get this narrative and we think, oh my God, everyone's a divine masculine because they're acting like, no, not necessarily. So, and that's one of the reasons why I guess it was harder and trickier. Mind you, he has not always been like that, because he's taken his spiritual path too. And he's now living more consciously and conscious in his choices. So everyone's waking up around, you know, they really are. So I hope this just gives you it could be the encouragement to stay. It could be the encouragement to go, whatever's right for you. But I was just guided to share and tune into your heart and soul and just feel what you feel. And don't be afraid if you don't know the next step. Like I didn't. I just knew I had to get out of this before I was shown this, before I was shown the next step. And out of me, I just took it a day at a time. I healed, and I just went on that journey, and I wasn't on my spiritual path then. So, you know, and if I can do it, you can do it. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for listening. If you've made it to the end, thank you. Sending you lots of love, and yeah, take care. Okay, bye.